with this result, the U.S. advancing to the final. That was the first game of a doubleheader at AT&T Stadium. What do you make of Greg's words after the game on the performance of the team?
Yeah, so he says that they struggled with the 5-4-1, which is nothing new. Forget about the formation for a second. What Greg Berhalter's talking about is a low block. It's Jamaica sitting in. It's the inability of the U.S. men's national team to break down that type of block because they lack that creativity, because they lack that knowledge in the final third until you have a player who's able to unlock that type of play, a Giovanni Reyna. And we'll get into that right now. But this team, if you look at their performances since Greg Berhalter got back, since after B.J. Callahan and the U.S. men's national team won the Nations League, you have Gold Cup, which didn't go well. And you could say, well, that's the U.S. men's national team B team. That didn't go well. Cool, if you want to say that. You also have Germany in Hartford. You have Ghana, which for stretches looked very good, but then Oman, and then Uzbekistan, and the list goes on and on where it's not looked good. And you could say what you want about the team not being together, but all national teams deal with this type of thing, Case.
Correct.
It's when you play against teams you know will have a low block, how can you unlock them? Nothing that Jamaica did was a surprise. And trust me, the moment Jamaica scores, nothing changes for the U.S. men's national team. Jamaica's still sitting in a low block. You still have to break them down. The way the goal happened is very unfortunate. It comes off a throw-in. And I'm not going to put the goal on Greg Berhalter because it's off a throw-in and then 3 individual errors. I think it's an error by Anthony Robinson on the touch. I think it's an error for Joe Scally in the second post not being ready. I think it's another error for Matt Turner. Case, you've been in that position, but I think Matt can do a little bit more there. I think a confident Matt Turner makes that save.
Or at least say could make that save.
Or could make that save.
Yeah.
But the rest of the game went as planned. What I thought would happen, happened. Jamaica sat in. The U.S. men's national team for long stretches of this game had 83% possession. Jamaica at one point had 80 passes that they can try to complete, not even completed, just trying to complete. The U.S. men's national team had so much of the ball. So much of the ball that, in fact, when they made the subs, when they make these subs, the 3 subs at one time, you have Weston McKennie outright playing as a right back or a
wing. They almost went to a back three.
A wing back, if you will. You had Haji Wright and Ricardo Pepi on the field, Malik Tillman and Giovanni Reyna. You know that you're going to have all the possession you can have in that final third. Everything you thought would happen would happen. You're just not very good at breaking them down until you put the right personnel in the game. And finally, that goal happens, the own goal, and from there you just thought Jamaica was done.
Now the side that I was frustrated with was you start a game against an opponent that you're thinking you're probably very overconfident, particularly with the players that were missing from Jamaica. But you have to at least match the intensity of the opponent that you're playing against. And it really, again, take the goal aside, but the U.S. was flat. The first half, their intensity was poor. Their execution of just simple passing was poor. The way they gave possession away, it was not crisp. It was not clean. It wasn't taking players on, combining. We talked about we'll talk about the missed chance that Mexico has, where maybe there's not, interacting with the defender.
Right.
The chance that Pulisic had in the first half. Engaging him. Getting him. It was just slow. It was methodic. It was just not the intensity that you need to match a team in a semifinal that had nothing to lose. That had nothing to lose. And, we talked about Damian Lowe in midfield, running around, winning tackles, kicking people. And the U.S. was like, hey, we're playing well for our club teams. We should be able to just come out here and roll against you.
We thought individual talent must have been enough.
But individual talent is only enough if you match the intensity. Yeah. And then the individual talent rises above your opponent. But you gave Jamaica the opportunity to be in that game because you didn't come out with any kind of fire.
Now, it felt like that could have been a changing moment for the game here, but you feel like the plan for the U.S. didn't really have to change because of that fast
goal. No, it doesn't
goal.
Change at all. Think about this for a second. Jamaica scores a goal that early. They're still going to try to defend for their lives. They still sat in. Another team scores that early, and you're thinking, well, they're not going to sit in. They're going to go for more, right? This is game on, let's push the tempo. Maybe it changes things for that. It doesn't change anything for the U.S. men's national team. They still have to play against the low block. They're still playing against a team that you know are missing players, that you know are just going to defend. You know are going to try to hit you with pace on the counter, be very physical. Nothing about this game changed in the way I envisioned it. I thought it was scrappy. I thought it would be ugly. I thought it would take a goal to unlock it. I just didn't think it would be this lackluster, or the personnel that was on the field would be on the field together. In no world that I have, in my bingo card wasn't Malik Tillman, Gio Reyna on the field together. It wasn't Haji Wright, Ricardo Pepi on the field together. It wasn't Weston McKennie as a right wingback. And it certainly wasn't a Timothy Weah and Tyler Adams coming out frustrated like that.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other side of it is we had this assumption that it was going to be a U.S. team that was, again, going to roll, that was going to do things. How many times have you been in a game, Herc, back in the day, maybe you're away from home, and you score that early goal, and you're playing a team, and you go, oh, no, we scored too early. This just poked the bear, and now it's going to come. And I think we kept waiting for that to happen, because we kept waiting for this response that, okay, you conceded a goal, but here's how these guys are playing. Christian's on fire, and some other players are going to come in and try to prove. Balogun hasn't had the best of league season, but here he is back with the national team. I'm going to run past these guys. I'm going to do some stuff. And it was like the bear was still hibernating.
Yeah.
And they needed a crazy last-minute own goal to finally wake them up.
So clearly the game-changing moment comes at the 95th minute, right? It's not like the U.S. had so many clear-cut chances against Andrew Blake.
Well, we're talking about it off camera.
Exactly. We're trying to remember Andrew Blake being the hero. No, not really.
Or the
Spectacular
post,
saves, not really.
Clearances off the line.
It is this moment. But you said now the game will get really open for the U.S. Why?
I really thought after that, because I think it's just the emotion of it. You know you're that close to coming up with a massive upset. And then when it didn't, and then you had to go to extra time, and you had 20% possession, and you've been working hard off the ball, and you thought it's done.
Right.
And then it's not done.
You still need to get it done. You still need to finish off the plays. And this is where Haji Wright comes in, because the longer this game goes, you have a U.S. men's national team that's disjointed.
Yeah.
The way they're
playing.
Panicking. And panicking as well, because they're the favorites. They're the home team. Jamaica's a team that's missing arguably half their starters, big players, difference makers for that team. So they have nothing to lose. Holgrimson can go into this game, in the post-game presser and say, yeah, we're disappointed, but we made this team look silly.
Yeah. And we're missing 5 starters.
And we're missing 5 to 6 starters. There are going to be many people out here that say, well, they made it to the final. Greg Berhalter was 2 seconds away, was a play away from everybody calling for his head, from everybody saying this isn't the man to lead this team. And I don't think I feel too much differently today after this game as I did before it. Greg Berhalter may be a good coach at a certain level. He's not the coach for the U.S. men's national team at this level, not the coach to lead the U.S. men's national team to the World Cup in 2026.
To me, this, I talked about it a little bit, while we were watching the game. To me, this was the closest game without the same ramifications as losing to Trinidad and Tobago's B team in Trinidad. Because of everything we talked about before, because of all of Jamaica's big players absent, because it was a home game, it was a major banana peel for the U.S. national team that they avoided from being bailed out from that own goal late.